And
oh, got it.
I think I'll pull up your bio here real quick. Got it. And excellent. Let me refresh my channel, hop into the chat. Let's see. Okay, there we are. And let me just double check the sound in there. All right. Okay, Sasha, can you say something?
Yeah, I can. Hello. Dobro veče.
Refresh my channel, hop into the chat. Let's see. Okay, there we are. Let me just double check the sound in there. All right. Okay, Sasha, can you say something?
Dobro veče.
Okay, there we go. So I think we're good sound-wise. If you guys catch it and you guys are like, hey, Kay, can you turn your mic down? Just let me know here in the chat if it's too loud. Somebody gave me that feedback yesterday, and I'm definitely sensitive to sound issues. So if you need me to adjust anything, you guys let me know. I'm so happy to be here with all of you today. It is my treat, pleasure, and honor to be joined by a special guest for day 2 of Shadow Work Week. I'm really pumped about this because what we have going on here today is a special guest with Shadow Work Week. It is a special week that I've put together to help us all manage, navigate, and enjoy, shall I say, the energies of shadow that will be surfacing this year, 2022, as the South Node travels through the sign of Scorpio. We have next year South Node traveling through the sign of Scorpio. And as you all know, South Node, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but the South Node astrologically represents the things we're working on letting go of. It represents the things that we are working to release. And the fun part about this is that we can do it together. We don't have to do it alone. We get the opportunity to collaborate and create and see how much we're all alike and working in this together. So this is day 2 of Shadow Work Week. You can find the full lineup in my community section and linked below this video once the video is complete if you are listening to the recording. And I am joined today by special guest Alexandra Sasha Stankovic, also known by her social media handle Divine Pisces 222. Now, listen, you guys, we didn't plan this, okay? It is literally 2/22/22, and it is day 2 of Shadow Work Week, and she is Divine Pisces 222. That was a total accident. We had agreed on another day. I couldn't make it work that day in the end. I asked her if she could do Tuesday, and here we are.
I mean, you can't make it up, right? You just
no. You really can't. I find the comedy, the divine comedy of the universe, especially, it's a treat, it's a delight, especially when we're moving such challenging energy. So Miss Sasha here is an intuitive tarot reader, energy healer, self-empowerment coach, and life purpose mentor. And after making her start in 2019 reading tarot for the Twin Flame community, she very quickly switched into including energy healing and coaching services because knowing just it's not enough. We have to also be willing to do the work. She had the opportunity to escape from an abusive marriage. She took that challenge for herself. And since then, she's also come into union with her divine counterpart in the way that many people refer to union, classic 3D, traditional world, romantic union. She's also built a successful coaching program, which has already empowered many who have been repeatedly hurt by love partners to break through their pain so they can create the life and love that they desire, and deserve. Divine Life Works coaching services, her business, also include helping and serving the light worker, energy healer, and spiritual entrepreneurial community who are not sure yet how to begin monetizing their gifts. And she supports the community in breaking through money blocks and deservability confusion to harness their talent so they can create successful, heart-centered businesses with confidence and clarity. Sasha, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be with you again. So hi everybody, happy 22222.
On a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
Oh, welcome. So good to have you here. And it's great to see all of you here in the chat. If you're just joining, welcome. Hit that like button. And we're going to do some Q&A with Sasha shortly. But first, we're going to start off with a few questions. I am super curious. The concept of union, as people understand it, seems to be such like a magical, mystical Neverland kind of thing if you're in separation. And I'd love for you to share with us every and anything you're able to about your particular union story.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to try to do this in a nutshell if I can, but I will tell you that my story really spans, I'm going to say probably about 3 years time. In 2019 was when I had what most people would consider their catalyst moment, where I went into, I guess, your dark night of the soul. I basically thought I was having a mental and emotional breakdown, that kind of thing. At that time, I was in a marriage that I was not happy in, I was not fulfilled in. And honestly, it took me about 10 years to realize that I was being abused. And when I look back on it, really the beginning of that awakening started in 2018. I met who I believed was my twin flame. And he came back into my life, showed me the things that I needed to deal with. That's when I started moving into the spirituality, although I will say I've always been somewhat intuitively gifted. It's just that I denied that part of myself for a very, very long time because I was trying to live the life that everybody else thought I was supposed to live. Thus, I ended up in a marriage that I was not fully happy in, and was trying to make it work because I was afraid of the repercussions of leaving for a lot of reasons. And of course, I'll go into that a little bit later. But long story short, at the end of that year, I ended up manifesting my way out of that marriage. I found an apartment for myself and my daughter, was able to get out, get to safety unscathed at the end of that year. And all during that time from about, I'm going to say it was May 2019 to December of 2019, very, very fast. May of 2019 was when I had the ghosting moment that everybody talks about, divine masculine just ghosted, couldn't hear from him. There were a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes, of course. I don't want to go too far in detail, but we were both married. We were both in very unfulfilling relationships, a lot of mirroring going on there. There were a lot of synchronicities, a lot of signs. And of course, I was drawn into the twin flame community, and I made a lot of friends in the twin flame community. And that's how I kind of got started doing my YouTube channel. And I kind of progressed through mission as I went through my entire story. Now, at the end of 2019, after I left my husband, I hadn't heard from my divine masculine, who I will refer to in this context as my page of wands for a number of reasons. But I then again, all of a sudden started hearing from him again. Really interesting stuff, how he would come in and leave, come in and leave. And then of course he never would actually fully commit to the connection, even though I knew he knew that we had one because I explained everything to him, everything like that. But I will tell you guys, I never had any verbal confirmation from him. I started to really notice that it was really just about him coming in for a touch and then leaving. And I will say there was never actually anything like physical with us. It was just, a lot of tongue in cheek, so to speak. Okay. Now moving into 2020, it was the beginning of 2020, and actually was in February, of course, February 2020, when I finally had that moment where I said, no, I can't keep doing this back and forth stuff. Like, he was in my astral space, he was in my energy. It was a constant, it felt like an obsession over and over and over. And I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. I was losing weight very rapidly. It was really messing with my sense of well-being, my emotional well-being, my mental well-being, and also messing with my mission in a lot of ways, and also in my job. And then, of course, you know, thereafter we had the pandemic happen, where I was forced to be at home anyway, and then I had to really take care of myself and all of that. But in the meantime, there, I finally said, no more, I can't do this anymore. I sent my Page of Wands a goodbye video, basically wishing him farewell, because I had learned he was moving, he was leaving state. Didn't even bother to tell me in the 3D, but I already knew in the 5D because he told me, and all that fun stuff, right? And so I finally released him. I said, you know what? I wish you love. I wish you all the luck in the world. You know, I know you're clearing a lot of karma. And this was the moment that I finally just said, I can't be doing the work for someone who doesn't want union with me. I mean, it finally just came home to me that this person, whether he was my twin flame or not, didn't matter at that moment. I just knew that I was hurting myself by staying in that energy. And I finally just released him. I said, no more, I'm done. Goodbye. I wish you love. I wish you luck. Bye-bye. I know he watched it, those analytics. And then shortly thereafter, though, this is where it gets really interesting, and I think is why you wanted me to tell the story. Shortly thereafter, I met who I call my King of Cups, or KOC, who is now, of course, you know, who I am in union with. But this is why it gets really interesting. Very shortly thereafter, I met KOC. And I will tell you that the way that we met, the trajectory of our connection and our relationship, and the way that it went was identical to Page of Wands. But
what parts were identical?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is where it gets weird. When I first met this man, his energy was exactly the same, to the point that it shook me to like my core. I was like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Why is his energy the same as Page of Wands? Like, I didn't know him. Like, he had just, you know, started working in the same space, and he just, being in his energy made me feel the way being in Page of Wands energy made me feel. Like, I felt overwhelmed. It was just bizarre. And I was like, okay, all right, well, fine, you know, and I chalked it up to, you know what, I just got out of a marriage. This guy is, you know, maybe this guy's just incredibly attractive. I don't know, maybe, you know, whatever. And then shortly thereafter, we started talking about energy healing, about soul connections and things like that. Now, keep in mind, this man is 9 years younger than me, number one. Number two, he's a guy. Most guys don't talk about that stuff. But the fact that he was just coming out and talking about that stuff to me when he didn't really know that much about me, it just blew my mind. And then I decided I was going to check his chart, and I found that his rising sign was actually the sun sign of who I thought was my twin flame at first. And that kind of threw me off balance. And I was like, all right. So we kind of started talking, started progressing with our relationship. Again, kind of like what happened with Page of Wands, you know, except King of Cups, as I call him, KOC, was not attached to anybody. And at that time, I wasn't attached to anybody either. I'm sitting here going, okay. So it's like these things were removed, right? The things that were encumbering me before were removed, so we could move forward in this space. And as the relationship progressed, we started seeing each other a little bit more regular. And then again, I had that moment where I thought he ghosted. And I went back to the same place emotionally that I was when Page of Wands, the original, who I thought was my twin, I guess we can call him false twin, ghosted.
Okay, can I pause you right there?
Yeah.
when you said, I thought he ghosted, sometimes I'll talk to clients and they'll say, oh, he ghosted me. And I'll say, well, when was the last time you heard from him? And they'll say, oh, last Friday, but I sent him something and I haven't heard back. And I'm like, well, it is Tuesday. Maybe he had a busy weekend. Maybe he's not ghosting you. So
Mhm.
what constitutes like a ghosting for you?
Yeah. So we had this amazing night together, first time, right? And then we were talking about hanging out a little bit after that. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to come over later. And then I send him a text and then nothing. I was like, okay, all right. I wait, nothing back. And I text him again. Yeah, everything okay? Nothing. I'm like, okay. And you go down that road in your head where you're like, oh God, what did I do wrong? What happened? And then it like just crashes and burns because you go down a rabbit hole. And I tried calling him, didn't answer. And it was
Okay.
like 3 days. And then I finally texted him. I texted this long diatribe of, you know what, thank you for the lesson. Like, I'm trying to be the bigger person here, being like, you know what, I enjoyed our time together, blah, 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 blah. And I did that. And then 3 days later, he contacts me. He texts me.
Wow. So it was a total of what, 6 days?
It was about 6 days. His phone got turned off. He could not text me.
Hmm.
No.
See, okay, but now this is the fun part,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where'd you go in your brain?
Man, for that 6 weeks, let me tell you something. I went
Six.
everywhere.
I love how you Freudian called it 6 weeks when it was
It
six
felt like
days.
6 weeks. It was like 6 weeks. But no, seriously, it's 6 days of pure hell because I was in my head. And at that time, my daughter was visiting my family. So I didn't even have my daughter with me. It was during the pandemic. I was working from home. It was just me and a cat in my apartment. So like for like 6 days, like I am just losing it, right? And I went to that same place. And when I went into Dark Night of the Soul originally, I went there. That's exactly where that took me. I felt like I was going through what I was going through with the original again. And it was that intense. And I never thought I would ever experience anything so painful as I did with that. But it was like Dark Night of the Soul 2.0. And then when he responded back to me, he was like, look, I'm so sorry. And he told me that he got triggered. And that's why it took him 3 days to respond, because he was without his phone for 3 days. Then he got my text and then he waited 3 days to respond to me because he was afraid that he had lost me. And so that right there was me just going, oh my God, I made up this entire scenario in my head that this man had ghosted me and he did not. But it took me where I needed to go for a reason. And then from there, it was like just the progression of the relationship in every aspect where the previous one had not shown up for me. KOC did. But I also noticed in the same token that I showed up for myself. Anytime something would happen where it would trigger me the way that it would trigger me before, I said, no, stop. Why are you going down this road? Why are you doing this to yourself? So on and so forth. So I felt like my mind shifted from victim mentality into alignment. And the entire year of 2020 was basically my learning about myself. And then as far as union goes, I mean, we had achieved what I would consider our I wouldn't say internal union, but our alignment in 2020. I would say we reached actual union at the beginning of 2021. And so there were periods, though, within that, I got to tell you, of a lot of self-doubt, a lot of confusion, especially about the twin flame thing. Like, oh my God. So you're here to tell me that the entire time dude guy before was not my twin and this guy is? Or, and then I had this other thing, I was like, what is this my twin in this timeline? Did I collapse a timeline? Did I shift timelines? Like I was just overthinking so much to the point that I think I had a shutdown. And then I finally just said, you know what? It doesn't matter. And I think that was the moment that I achieved like what I would consider inner union, because I stopped fighting myself. I had stopped fighting that, what I call the ego, but it's really that narcissistic side of us that is bred, that's basically indoctrinated into us when we're born, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you gaslight yourself basically your entire life. Okay, let's be honest, because you're told all these things you can't do, and then you're told all the things that you should do for the things that you should want, and that may not be what you want. That was my entire life of me just fighting myself. And I finally surrendered. I said, no, I'm not going to fight myself anymore. I'm not going to fight this. I'm just going to take it one day at a time, deal with what I need to deal with. And I know that everything is going to work out. And it did.
So, how did you figure out that this was not your twin, or you're dealing with a false twin before? Like, how did you even come to that kind of clarity?
Let me tell you, I had, most people who know me, I get very vivid dreams. I wouldn't consider myself clairvoyant, but I do a lot of work in the astral, and I've always had very vivid dreams, and my dreams always have some sort of message behind them. I had this crazy dream, if you will, and I was still at the apartment, where I was in the apartment, I was on my couch, and I was with KOC, and there was a knock at the door, and I answered the door, and the other guy was there. And I just was like, what is happening right now? And I looked at KC, and then I looked at him, and I said, no, you know what? I'm good. Like, you're not going to sabotage this for me. Like, you still have your stuff you're dealing with, even if we are, whatever this is, fine. But as of right now, you chose your karma. You need to go back down that path, because that's the path you chose. And because you chose that path, I was rewarded because I stayed on my path. And that's what KOC represented, was basically, okay, Sasha, you stayed on the path. You didn't go down this one. You stayed on the path. So guess what? You're going to get rewarded, and you're going to draw in somebody who is aligned with you in this moment. And that was my wake up call. And I want to say that was in September of 2020 when I realized. Mm-hmm.
Wow, amazing. Okay. So, you have this moment of clarity about where, like, okay, you're having these dreams, they're giving you this information, you're actually conscious and working in the dreams and able to say yes and to say no, and not just in a victim state of consciousness. You're lucid dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
And you're clear about, I have to let this one go. You move with your daughter, you find yourself in a new place. This new guy comes in, and he finds it so intense with you that he finds he needs to take a beat as well. And so you mentioned that all of the same things came up inside of you, the same stories, the same trigger. What did you do with that?
It was like I got a second chance. That's really the best way I can put it. It was like I got a second chance to face it. And so I'll go back to the big one about the 6 days, the 6-day ghosting, I guess. So much of the stuff that came up really had to do with worthiness. It was just this whole idea that I was never worthy of the things that I wanted. But in reality, what I was telling myself was I was not worthy of the things that didn't want me. I was not worthy of the things that didn't deserve me, basically. And I realized it took me back. It took me back a lot. It took me way, way back to middle school, really. Like, I want to say probably 10 to about 14. I mean, I was in this place where it's like I was never accepted. It was never understood. It didn't matter how hard I tried. It didn't matter any of that. That's where it took me back. It took me back to that you don't deserve to have the things that don't deserve you. Like, I wanted to fit in with people who didn't like me. You know what I mean? Like I wanted the things, even though it's like, why do you want to be in that? And I realized that followed me through my entire life. And I realized how many relationships I'd had where I stayed with these guys who treated me like crap. And I didn't understand why they didn't want to be with me after they treated me like crap. It was like, I let you treat me like crap and now you're dumping me, or now you're walking away, or now whatever it was, you know, or now you're actually like hurting me, that kind of thing. And it was like, I'm sitting here thinking, what's wrong with me that even this jerk who treats me like crap doesn't want to be with me?
And
right?
What did you discover in that?
That it really went back to, what is it that I actually want? And I realized I had never actually considered that I was in a relationship with someone because they showed me attention. I was in a relationship with someone because they made me feel good for a little while. It was like I needed that outside validation from someone else to make me feel good about me. But then I realized it was all a facade. These people that I would get involved with saw that in me. And so they used that to put me in a state of false security, use me for a little while, and then discard me when I would stand up for myself. And this was a cycle throughout my life. And it goes back to really, honestly, when I was a kid, you know, dealing with my child dynamic with my parents. And don't get me wrong, my parents are good parents. I love my parents. But there was this element that they just never really did understand me. So therefore they would disregard me. And then it goes even further back into that, into the indoctrination, when we go into like from intuition into ego, that we're taught that no one cares about your feelings, so you shouldn't care about your feelings. Nobody cares what you have to say or what you think, so therefore you shouldn't care. You know, these are the things you're supposed to want, and these are the things that you're supposed to do in order to get these things that you're supposed to want. We completely lose our identity of soul in that process. And I was just like, oh my God, like I had a major, major, major tower moment. And I will tell you that right there was my Jenga piece. That was my Jenga piece for my tower, my shadow work. That was it. And after I discovered that, that's when crap really hit the fan, and it hit fast. Because right after that, you know, me and KOC were great. We were doing great. Right after that, my ex-husband decides he's going to send me a court thing. Even though I'm trying to work it out with him, he decides he's going to send me that without telling me. Threatens me with taking my daughter and all this. And at the time, you know, I'm living with my parents. And then my parents come in, and I love my parents, and they were doing what they thought was the right thing to do. But then KOC gets discarded. So basically we were pushed into forced separation for about 4 or 5 months.
Why was he discarded? I'm missing.
He had to go. He had to go. I'm not going to go into too much.
He had to go for his reasons, not because you discarded him.
Yeah. He had to go because he had to go. Not me, not him.
It wasn't you. That was like, and now I will discard him.
It was my parents who said he has to go.
I see.
And yeah, there was a whole bunch of stuff I was dealing with that. And that led into the divorce proceedings, and then dealing with the shadow work with my parents, and then connecting all of those dots, because I was in a situation where, and I realized again, I connect a lot of dots with this, with like my jobs and everything like that, how much of myself I would sacrifice just for a false sense of security.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So through about the later half of 2020 into 2021, I would say about February, March of 2021 was a come to Jesus moment, if you will, as far as that goes.
What happened? Like, how did you shift your energy? Like, what shifted for you?
Pardon me, I don't usually get emotional, but if I do, I beg your pardon. So when me and KOC were forced into separation, it was just like the worst thing. I know it wasn't. We had our reasons. Obviously, the universe had its reasons, so on and so forth. It was difficult because we were far away from each other. I even though I was with my family, I didn't feel safe again because of a lot of things that were coming up for me. And I had my daughter, thank God, because if I didn't have my daughter, I probably would have gone completely insane. But I didn't have KOC, who was like the one adult person who really understood me. And keep in mind, my daughter was only just a little over a year at this point, so she didn't really know what was going on. But like the one person that really just understood me and that I could connect with and that I felt safe with was just completely ripped from me, like forced separation, literally separation. So again, the trajectory of just crazy. And while he was there, we tried to connect on the phone, and then he would get triggered because he was far away. So he had his own abandonment issues he had to deal with on that end, and I had to deal with my abandonment issues. And then I started connecting some dots with my family dynamic and then my abusive marriage, which it was hard for me because I was going through whatever I was going through. And keep in mind, my ex-husband, he had his own come to Jesus moment. You know, we're fine now. Trust me, we are fine now. We really are. But during that time was so stressful that it took me back to when I was crying on the bathroom floor with the door locked, afraid that my husband was going to kill me.
Oh my God.
Like that's where it took me. That's where it took me, because I didn't feel safe, even though I had a house, even though I had family around me, even though I had people who professed that, and they do, that love me. I was terrified. I did not feel safe. I felt trapped. I could not get out. That was the worst thing for me, was not being able to get out. Because it was like, universe was like, no, you have to deal with this now. This has to be dealt with now. You've come this far. You've got to deal with this. Move forward, move forward, move forward. And at that time also, it felt like I just didn't have anybody I could talk to about what was happening to me, about, again, another dark night of the soul, I guess, that really understood what I was dealing with, except for one person, thank God, you know. But it was just like, I couldn't talk to KOC because KOC was always on edge because he hated what was happening. And he was dealing with his own stuff, you know, about me being previously married and all that. And then I didn't have my parents I could talk to because my parents were on edge, and my parents decided to take against KOC. So it was like we had like this huge rift that was happening. And I'm sitting here going, why? Like, what? Everything was so great. And then crap just hits the fan.
Hang on one second. Let's clarify a few things for our audience. Thank you so much for being so willing to share this experience. I don't know if you're looking at the chat, but I can see here that there's so much resonance that people have been through this too. Yes. And I'd like to kind of name some things so that people can start putting the pieces together for themselves as well, who've been here. When you say, you know, the universe really hit you with, you need to deal with this right now, when you got back to your parents' house, what was the this? Name the this.
It was, okay. Again, my Jenga piece has always been that I accept a form of false sense of security. And then I sacrifice myself because of it. I never fully able to fulfill myself because I am having or feeling like I need to fulfill someone else's expectations of me. And that was what I needed to deal with. And that was what came crashing down on me. And then having to balance that with not seeming to be selfish was hard for me, because most of us grow up with this sense of loving yourself somehow is selfish. And I had to break that mold. I had to break that mold. Yeah. And so it was the combination of all of those things. And then realizing that, again, I was doing it to myself again, that I was sacrificing my principles. I was sacrificing in a way, like my soul and what I knew was right. I was sacrificing what I knew was right for me in order to appease someone else's idea of who and what I should be.
Ooh, that's rich. Okay. And when you say there was a mirror between your childhood or your family home and how you grew up and your husband, was that the mirror?
Yes, it really
Okay.
was. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow. And so what was the no more point for you?
When I was in the bathroom crying on the floor with the door locked, I finally said, this is the last time I do this. Because like I remember, it's like vivid memories. It's like I can almost remember every single time I was in the bathroom crying on the floor with the door locked. Because it's like, and what got me to that point was just this me trying to be what I'm not. And then being chastised because I failed to be what I'm not.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I just got like the truth chills all up my front body. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was a journey. It sounds like, the first step was abandon self, dissociate from self. Second step was and ignore self because other people are ignoring you. Then the second step is now be in agreement with their ignoring of you to the degree that you'll just do whatever you need to in order to take up space and oxygen in their world. And so it's like, which pretzel do I need to become today? And that created the space for an abusive relationship to unfold. And then from there, you finally got to a place of clarity where you couldn't live like that. But there was, all these steps prior to that. And then finally you leave and you start taking these steps toward wholeness again, only to have to retroactively go back and do the work where it all began with family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, this brings us back to so you wrap up the things with the divorce. You do the things that you have to do to get to stability and sovereignty with your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
How does KOC come back in the picture?
Yeah. So thank God. And this, again, you talk about the universe having a sense of humor. Absolutely. Our divorce was finalized on my ex-husband's birthday in 2021. So that right there is comedic. So that was finalized in early January. And then shortly thereafter, KOC and I decided to basically rent from my parents. My parents were doing something else. They actually moved down to a different state. So we were renting their house from them for a little while until I could sell it. And then shortly thereafter, ended up vacating that situation because of, there was another karmic thing that came up. Again, it was basically like the final stand. It was like, this is the final thread. This is what you need to cut right here. And that's with the parents. And then we just left. We said, okay, we're done. Let's just pack up. Parents sold the house. And then we basically manifested where we're at now. And so we've been here almost a year. So it was April of last year that we moved over this way. And so we've been together in peace since April of 2021. Now I say in peace, obviously, we still have our trigger moments. I just want to tell you guys, union's not some magic thing. It's not a fairy tale thing. You still have triggers. You still have things you have to deal with.
Okay, so talk about that.
Yeah,
Bring
for
us
sure.
into that. Because was there ever a moment where it was like, this might not happen, we may not come together, oh no, it's falling apart?
Yes and yes. There were several moments just within everything that I told you about, like all of the cluster of things that was going on. There was also this sort of thing that was going on, the dynamic between us, because he was going through his own stuff. He was going through his own towers and everything like that. And a lot of it had to do with his expectations on what, basically what love means, what it is to be a provider, what it is to be a man, what it is, this, that, and the other thing, of course, and of course he was like, I think one of the most famous things he said to me, and of course this triggered me absolutely, was that, no, I don't take this wrong way, guys, but he was like, I hate who I fell in love with, because he never thought he would end up with, a woman who is almost 10 years older than him with a kid and who had previously been divorced. Like he never thought that that's what his, what the dream relationship was supposed to be. He's like, I'm supposed to go to college, get a job, get a house, get all the things that we're told we're supposed to get, that we're supposed to have by a certain time in our lives, right? And here he is at a certain time in his life where he feels like he has achieved nothing, which is of course not true. He overcame a lot in his own childhood, and I'm not going to go into his story, but just know this man, he's got his own inner child stuff he's still to this day dealing with, but he's very well adjusted, and he's a lot more mature than you would think, for his age. But that being said, the things that he that came up for him with that did cause a lot of friction between us and barriers, to the point where I was like, fine, if you want a woman, if you don't want to be a parent, go find a woman who doesn't have kids.
All right, I'm not gonna chain you to this.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and I told him that straight up. I was like, and I was very mature about it. I'm like, look. And I was very proud of myself. I said, I will let you go. I will free you. I don't want you to feel trapped by any means. That is not what I'm trying to do here. And at every single time he wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave. And now we're fine. But,
well, that's interesting, right? Because there's that mirror there, for him to have the cognizance of mind to say, the choice I would have made with my conscious brain is not the choice my heart made. I wish he would have said it like that.
Of course.
We all wish that. Nobody ever says it the way they actually
no.
Right? It would have been nice if you had said it like that. But yeah. What I do love about the way he said it was the crisp clarity with which we can see self-hatred and self-rejection automatically creates static and friction with people we're connected to.
Of course. And let me tell you something about this man, guys. Like, we got it all. The psychic connection is absolutely ridiculous. Like if those of you who are with an awakened partner, you will know, because the psychic connection is unbelievable, to the point where you're thinking something and the man says it, or vice versa, or it's just, and forget, like, he's in my astral space every single night, but he also has this magnificent gift of foresight. I say I have the intuition, he has the foresight, because I don't really have foresight. I just feel, right? But he has foresight. Everything we went through that, and I didn't tell you guys this, but everything that we went through in 2020 and 2021, he predicted would happen, like almost to the letter. And it freaks me out still to this day, that he is so connected to himself. And I've told him this before, that he needs to get out of my head, because I didn't give him permission to be there. But it's like he knows what's going to trigger me, because it triggers him. And there was a lot of growing up we did with the triggers and how they work. And if you're a divine feminine, you're more likely to feel, because your divine masculine is not going to want to feel. So he's going to throw it onto you. And then what happens is he gets angry, and then he throws it onto you, and then you get in your feelings and you cry. All that is him transferring that to you. And that was when I had to finally put up my boundaries and say, you know what? No, I am not purging for you. I'm not doing it. Like, you got to purge your stuff. You purge your stuff, but I will not. And he will, at least he's at this point now that when I trigger him, he'll tell me. And I know when he's triggered, because he lashes out. And I talk about this a lot with my clients about the difference between being a narcissist, like being a true narcissist, and being in a narcissist moment, because we all have those tendencies, and understanding the difference between being with a narcissist and just being with somebody who is acting out because they're triggered or they're in pain.
Now, that's something I wanted to ask you about,
Yeah.
Sasha. The is as you were telling that story about your ex-husband and Page of Cups, the false twin,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that never once did you use that language, that label, narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really curious. I know that's probably a conscious choice on your part to not do that. Why? Why did you refrain?
Because I wanted people to understand where I was coming from before I start using that word, because not a lot of people really truly understand what a narcissist really does. You know what? I want to say that most of us, if not all, have had experienced in one way or another narcissist abuse, whether that is from your family, whether that's from a teacher, whether that's from a friend, a job, a lover, yourself. We all have experienced some form of narcissistic abuse, but we don't know that's what we're experiencing. Mm-hmm. So
Got it.
I wanted to be clear about the actual actions. Like when you have somebody who knows your weaknesses and uses them against you constantly, and then gaslight, what the word gaslight is, makes you feel like you're the reason that these things are happening to you, or that you imagined them, or that you're actually the abuser and they are the victim, probably with a narcissist. But I would say most people don't realize that that's what they're dealing with.
Mm. Oh, Sasha, I could go on and on and on with you, but it is time for us to get into the listener Q&A.
Yeah.
So let me pause here. I want you guys to go ahead and start thinking about what kind of questions you might have for Sasha that would help you take whatever your next step is. It would be a lot of fun to kind of continue to dig into Sasha's history and past, but I think the thing that I admire most about her is the way in which just the velocity to growth that she has, and her capacity to tell you precisely, here's the step you must take in order to get to XYZ result. So I want you to think about the things you want in your world, and in your connections right now, and what question you could ask her that would facilitate you getting to that outcome. And we'll take some listener Q&A. Now, Sasha, I'm curious as we cue those questions up, what exercises or processes would you recommend a person utilize to start the process of interrupting a pattern like the one that you were in?
I think the main thing you really need to do is acknowledge. I think this is a step that a lot of us miss. I know acceptance is the most common one. So we have to accept, But in order to accept, we must acknowledge first. I think the hardest thing for people to do is to acknowledge certain things. And when I do exercises with clients, we talk about subconscious manifestation is an enemy of manifestation, conscious manifestation, of course. So when we have these belief systems within our brain, well, basically within our thought processes, right? They are subconscious. We don't know that's what we're living. This reality that we're living is a subconscious reality in a lot of ways. When you start becoming conscious of the choices that you make, sometimes you hit what I call like a manifestation plateau. And that's because you're still subconsciously manifesting. So for an example, let's say you are in a relationship and you know it's toxic and you've got to go, and you want to go, you got to get out, you got to go. And then you start thinking about all these ways you could get out. And then all of a sudden, what comes in? I'd say I know what came in for me, because I can speak to my experience. I don't have the money. What am I going to do? I don't have any family. I don't have a place to go. You know, all of these fears just are coming in subconsciously, you know, and then what do? You just stay still. The best thing you can do for yourself is when those fears come up, anything that's coming in for you that keeps you from believing you can do something, you just bring it to the forefront and you look at it and you acknowledge it and you face it. You look at that and you say, you know what? No, I don't want that. No. I don't want this in my reality. Let's pluck that out. Let's throw it up. Let's get rid of it. Let's explode it, whatever I got to do. And this is incredibly powerful, because what you're doing is you're bringing it to the front. It can't hide anymore. It's here. It's right here in front of you. And you can decide whether you want it in your reality or not. And then once you get rid of it, you replace it with a positive. So you transmute that, because you can't leave it open. If you leave it open, it's like sage in a house, right? When you sage a house, you cleanse it first, and then you go back and you fill it with positive. Otherwise, anything can fill that space. So you replace it with a positive. And so if your thought was, I'm not good enough, nope, pluck that out, replace that with, I decide my worth. I choose to be worthy. I am worthy. I am successful, right? So these are the exercises that I go through with my clients, and they're really, it's never a one and done. If you have a really stubborn belief system in there, it's going to keep coming back. But eventually what you're doing is you're programming your brain. Anytime that negative thought comes up, you get rid of it, and it becomes easier and easier and easier, to the point where it won't even show up, because what you're replanting in there, the positive, eventually goes from conscious to subconscious. That's what that is.
So true. So true. Okay, beautiful. And if you guys know, it's like, I just need someone to hold space for me while I do this and walk me through it, Sasha does have some ways you can work with her, and we'll share those momentarily. They will be linked below this video in the description section. But the first question we have is, what words of encouragement might you have for those of us who are going through what you have been through and clearly overcome? It's from Amanda.
The best thing you can do for yourself is to believe in yourself. If you know where you're at is not where you want to be, then you trust that. It's not where you're supposed to be.
Right on.
Mm-hmm. And that also another thing, I'm going to tell you something. If you're going through a situation where you feel not safe and you feel abused and you feel alone, I want you to know you do not have to stay there. You do not have to stay there. If it's something inside of you that's telling you need to establish whose voice you're hearing, because it's probably not yours. If you're hearing somebody else's voice, if there's another expectation that's coming in for you that you have to stay somewhere where you're not safe, you give that expectation back to that person, because it's not yours.
Beautiful. Thank you. And then Journey Home asks, how did doing mission work impact your healing journey?
Oh man, this is something I work with on my clients, because I found every step in my mission that I went through, every level up, so to speak, every block that I overcame was directly related to my own personal healing journey. It was like, whatever it was all 100% a mindset thing that I was dealing with the entire time. The mission work gave me an external source of being able to focus my energy, to transmute my energy. Anything that I was dealing with in my personal journey, I could turn around and I could translate that into my mission. Every client that I helped, every reading that I did, every coaching client I took on, every breakthrough I had with a client, I would have some sort of breakthrough with myself. It was like a true energy exchange, and helping somebody, literally, they helped me. So that's truly what mission is about. It's about being like, all right, well, I'm going to help somebody, but in some way they're here to help me too. We're here to learn from each other. We're here to grow with each other. And you may know something that I don't know, and I may teach you something you never thought, right? That's the whole point. And when you come at mission with an open mind like that, and the mindset is, how can I help you? Who can I help today? How can they help me? You will find your life heck of a lot more fulfilled than it was. And you will start learning even more about yourself and what you're actually here to do to conquer within yourself.
Beauteous. Okay. And we have this question from Susan Cologne. How do we get through the life crumbling around us stage? She says she's losing everything and almost everyone. She feels like she's being stripped down to nothing, which is dark night of the soul energy for sure. When you're in dark night of the soul energy and having your life basically fall apart in that way, what's the first step?
The first step, honestly, is to release the resistance. I know that sounds super simple, but it's hard. And I know that. The easiest and most liberating thing you can do for yourself is to tell the universe, it's okay that I don't know why I'm going through this. And to keep telling yourself, it's okay that you don't know. You don't have to know why you're going through what you're going through. The things that are happening to you are actually happening for you. I will tell you that the thing that got me through, one of the things that got me through my many towers and many nights where I felt like I was just the only person in the universe going through this stuff, was power statements in using the I decide, I choose, and I am method. So I decide it's all possible. My success is inevitable. I am successful. I choose to be successful. Using those words and telling yourself that it's going to be okay puts you in a sense of surrender and faith, which is really where you need to be when you go through these things. It's forcing you into a sense of faith. Trust me, the more you fight, the more fear you have, the more resistance you have, the worse it's going to feel. Seriously, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to just have faith, to surrender, basically say, and that's what surrender means, is that it's okay that I don't know. And just trust that everything is working out the way that it should. And once you start seeing these things as a learning opportunity, instead of that these things are happening to me because I've done something wrong, that's your true shift. They're not happening to you because you did something wrong. That's not how karma works. It's happening for you because these things that are falling away no longer serve your highest good. You have to go somewhere else. You can't take everybody with you. And that was a really hard lesson for me too. But you can't take everybody with you. Not everybody can go where you're going. We're all on our own journey. And while it does feel, you don't have to be alone per se. You don't have to be alone during your journey because there are communities out there. In essence, we all have our own journeys. So it is going to feel lonely sometimes because we all have our own things we need to deal with. But it does help to know that you're not the only one going through it. You're not the only one that has gone through it. You're definitely not the last person to go through it.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. We are at the hour and I have been working to try and keep these an hour long so that they're very digestible for people, but we could keep going. I know we could,
Definitely.
but we're going to stop here. You have a way for people to work with you if they would like to get some coaching, get some support, make the same leap that you did. And it's free. Is that right?
Absolutely. So you could do a couple of things. I do offer free consultations. They're 30 minutes long. You just book them on my website, divinelifeworks.com. Come talk to me. Let's talk about what you're going through, how I can help you, and then I can make recommendations from there. I also have a program that I'm doing. I'm offering some free spots for my 3-day workshop, which will be from the 10th of March to actually the 22nd of March. You get access to the free Facebook group, and I'll be doing 3 live modules. It's called my 3-day solution to creating the life of love you deserve, and of course, anything else you desire. But it is free. It's actually over $2,000 worth of content that you're going to be getting for free. And if you're interested in that, you can definitely check out my website, again, divinelifeworks.com. Or, I think I gave you the link if you want to post that in the description.
I am, but I have to say, I was like so curious when I saw like everything that went in it.
Mhm.
And then I read the value of it. I'm like, girl, like you said, you have some free spots. I mean, can everybody get a free spot? Like, how many people can get a free spot and how quickly do they need to act?
Well, I will tell you this. I've already had 10 people sign up, and that I just released it today. So you definitely need to act fast because I'm only opening up 50 spots total. So everybody, if you want to take advantage of this, you definitely need to act fast. I would say the last day you could sign up is probably going to be the 8th of March because I'm going to start sending out invites to the Facebook group on the 8th of March.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah, like you're offering a lot. It's like 3 90-minute live group calls. You get access to all the replays. There's a private Facebook community for individualized connection and support. There's homework. Hallelujah.
Yeah, there's a lot too. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've done this a couple of times already, and I have people who have seen success after the very first module. So you get a workbook with all the exercises in it. You also get I'm going to do exclusive meditations that will not be released anywhere else. And then, of course, everybody in that group gets a free 30-minute one-on-one call with me as well. Mm-hmm.
Sasha, you said free, and I put the code there in the chat. So you guys do it. I mean, if you're catching the replay of this on the recording, you'll find the link and the code inside of the description box. So be sure you click the description box so that you can access the information. And it doesn't sound like it's free forever or free for everyone. Like you need to move quickly if this is something you want to do.
Yeah, I normally charge for this. I actually did charge for the last one. I do normally charge for this, but I'm doing it for free right now. And it is specifically, this particular round is specifically geared towards soul connection. So basically telling the difference between a soul connection, a trauma bond, and how to heal narcissistic abuse if you're a victim of that.
Wow. Okay. That's really powerful stuff. Because there's a lot of twin souls out here in trauma bonds thinking that that is their twin, and how would they know that? Let's close on that.
Well, yeah, definitely. And I can again tell you from my experience, because that's what I was experiencing as well. So if you're in a situation where you have somebody who is not even, first of all, verbally acknowledging that they have a connection with you, it's like they're preying on your weakness every time they come in and then they leave, and then they come in and then they leave. When they come in, you get that euphoria, right? You get that high, because that's exactly what it is. It's like a drug. That's why they call it drug abuse, right? It's abuse. So it's like they come in, they give you a little bit of flirting, they give you a little bit of what you want and what you've been longing for, and then they leave, and then all of a sudden you go down this dark road of obsession, and then all you're doing is thinking about this person. All you're doing is for that person, basically, and you completely forget what you're supposed to be doing until they show back up. That's more than likely a trauma bond.
Got it. Wow. Powerful stuff. Okay, beautiful. Thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for joining. If you would like to get the free 30-minute where you can just talk to Sasha directly one-on-one, and you can do that. You can find the way to do that over on her website. And if you would like to take advantage of the free group, you can certainly do that. That information is going to be available in the link below this video. It is free, so I recommend.
Just make sure you use the code to get it for free.
I will definitely be pasting the code in the description box below this video. So all my love to each of you who have joined. If you are just now joining, thank you. We've got the rest of the week into next Monday. This is only day 2 of a full 7-day live event. called Shadow Work Week. Tomorrow, we will be joined by Dawn Marie. She's going to talk with us about healing the shadow of sexual shame. So I hope you all join me for that. That interview will take place, I believe. I'm just going to quickly give you the time, 8 p.m. Eastern. That might be. I'm not even going to try and tell you what it is, Greenwich Mean, but you guys can look that up with the time zone converter. But you can also just subscribe to the channel and hit that like button so that you're notified the minute I go live and you can join the conversation there. Sasha, thank you. It was a treat to have you. I super appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Take great care.